My name is Calliope, and I'd love to start by just giving your eyes a little break and giving them a little bit of a stretch. So, I am going to tell you which way I'd like you to move your eyes. Let's see if maybe we can dial down the strain and fatigue a bit. So I'm going to have you just look up as high as your eyes will allow, and look down as far as they'll go, to the side, and to the other side, and diagonally up, diagonally down, and diagonally down. Good. I'm going to have you follow my fingers as they make different shapes so we can continue to stretch your eyes. Just follow my fingers using only your eyes, and we're going to make a circle, trying to stretch out all the extraocular muscles. And what about a rectangle here? Good. And triangle. Back. Yep, tricked you a bit. Back. Good. And can I have you follow my fingers in? Good. And out. Very good. In. And out. And in. And out. Good. Now switch to the other side. We'll go in and out, and in, out. Your eyes can get very dry, and the muscles can get kind of stuck over the day. Because when we look at screens, our muscles in the eyes, or around them rather, are in one fixed position, and you don't blink nearly as often as you do if you were outside or doing a task. So your eyes can get a lot drier too. So for that reason, I'm going to have you do some blinking so we can moisturize the eyes and combat some of that dryness. So I'm going to have you just blink, blink, blink. Good. Blink, 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 blink. Okay, a little slower now. Blink, blink, Blink. Okay, and a little slower still. Blink. 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 And maybe you choose to keep your eyes closed here. Let them just relax for a moment from the world of focusing, accommodating, moving. And maybe with your eyes closed, your eyelids feel very relaxed. Maybe they feel very heavy. They feel so heavy and so relaxed, in fact, that they just don't want to open. And you don't need them to open. They don't need to be doing anything. So it's okay if they're just very heavy and very relaxed. And in fact, since they don't want to work, if you try to open them, they just won't open because they don't need to. They just want to relax. So maybe you try a couple times to open your eyes, finding that they just don't really want to work. But I'm going to have you open your eyes and then close your eyes back down. So I am going to count to 3. When I reach 3, I'm going to have you open your eyes and then close them back down. So 1, 2, 3. Open the eyes, close them back down, and they feel even more relaxed, even more heavy. Have you open the eyes, 1, 2, 3, open and close. Good. More relaxed, more heavy. Just very content to stay closed. But I'm going to have you open them one last time. 1, 2, 3. Open the eyes and close them back down. And now they just wish to settle. Just stay relaxed. I won't ask you to do anything else with your eyes, so they can fully relax. And in fact, I'm actually going to just take a listen to your heart and lungs, and we'll see how much that's slowed your heart and slowed your breathing into a resting state. So I'm going to put the diaphragm of the stethoscope here. We're going to start at the right of the sternum. We're going to move to the left of the sternum, down a couple intercostal spaces, and then along the mid-clavicular line, so we can listen to each of the valves. So I am just going to place the stethoscope here. This is along the sternum for the aortic valve. nice and slow. And for the pulmonary valve, switching from one side to the other. Good. The tricuspid valve is just a couple spaces below. Good. And then we're going to find, there we are, mid-clavicular line and a little bit lower. This is the mitral valve. Okay. So the heart sounds very slow, even, and steady. So let's listen to the breathing. I'm going to start at the lung apices above the clavicle and work our way down in a ladder. I'm going to have you take a deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. Nice and slow. Deep breath in and out. 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 Last one. Deep breath in and out. Good. Let's listen to the heart once more. Let's see if everything has slowed down. Even just the littlest bit more. Tricuspid valve. Mitral valve. So just a nice excellent. Excellent. So while you're nice and relaxed, we're going to introduce a little bit of makes a very nice sound. Just depending on what kind of surface we're working with. And I would like to use some of this percussion on your head here. This is excellent for head tension, headaches or migraine, and general stress relief. So I'm going to be very gentle. I'm not going to really not get you. It's just some rhythmic percussion. So I'm going to also just guard your head with my hand so that even if I, for whatever reason, go a little too hard, that pressure will be dispersed by my hand. Good. So to get your mind off of anything that might be keeping you engaged, keeping you focused, even if it's good, even if it's just trying to figure out what you're doing tomorrow. I want to direct your attention instead to something low stakes, something you can just let your attention drift around to. So, I have two favorite fish in the whole wide world. I have the mandarin fish, which are very, very small, but they're brilliantly colored. And then we have the whale shark. The whale shark is polka dotted and has all these beautiful whitish markings all over its back. Whale sharks are often a grayish color or bluish, or I've even read brownish sometimes. And their spots on their back are unique to them, like fingerprints are to us. They've got a bit of a doofy shape to them, though. They have kind of a rounded rectangle head. And then more of the characteristic sort of shark body for the rest of the way. But their eyes are of that rounded rectangle shape. Kind of like if a hammerhead shark didn't have that T head and instead just continued down. They also have their mouths right on the front of their head rather than underneath like many sharks do. Now we're going to do some face percussion with something a little gentler. And again, I'm going to keep a barrier between your skin and the hammer. And their mouths are very, very wide. One measured 5 feet wide. That's as long as a rather short person. Whale sharks are true sharks, they're not whales. Whale refers to their size because they are the largest cartilaginous fish, which is a very informal way of saying shark. So instead of being made of bone, their skeletons are made of cartilage. So they're the largest shark. They're the largest extant fish. And they are the largest non-cetacean animal. So cetacean would be the whales, porpoises, dolphins, the aquatic mammals. So they're not as big as a blue whale, but they're the biggest fish that is around currently. Whale sharks are a type of carpet shark. They're named that for how ornate their markings are. And I read somewhere that sometimes carpet sharks are also called wabagongs, which sounds a little bit more like a Pokemon. Whale sharks are very notoriously difficult to actually get accurate measurements on. The females are much larger than the males for their type of sexual dimorphism. So the females generally get about 40 to 48 feet long, or 13.3 to 16 meters long. The males generally get about 26 to 30 feet long, and that's 8.7 to 10 meters long. But currently, the most reliable, longest record is about 61.7 feet, or 20.57 meters. gentle ear stroking. So, because we can't really reliably measure how long whale sharks can be, and they're tricky fish in general, you can estimate the proportions of an organism based on established proportions. So the projections of studies on whale shark growth tend to put this number of how big they can get at 49 to 70 feet long, which is 16.3 to 23.3 meters. But this isn't necessarily the biggest they could get. I don't know if that number has been figured, but it's thought that maybe the structure of the shark skeleton, the cartilaginous skeleton, might be the reason that their growth may be limited. Possibly. There's a lot we don't know about whale sharks. They are filter feeders, like the blue whale with the baleen, but whale sharks don't have baleen. And they still have like 300 rows of teeth, I think it is. Yeah, 300 rows that they don't use. That's just a leftover from evolution. So even though whale sharks have all these teeth, because they're filter feeders, they only eat things like little fish and krill and plankton, fish eggs, that sort of thing. So they don't have any threat to humans except accidental, like when they bump into boats and things like that. And actually, when they're little, when they're babies, juveniles, they do seem to like to swim with humans. But if you do get the privilege of swimming with a whale shark, you can't touch them. That's generally illegal in most places, but also it's not good for them and it can harm them. So we don't touch the whale sharks, but we can swim around with them, that's fine. So they're very, very slow swimmers because they're so big and they eat such small things. They have to be incredibly energy efficient. So they're basically these sloths of the ocean. They only swim generally about 3 miles per hour, 5 kilometers per hour. Very slow. You could outwalk them. So they're just these big, giant school buses of fish that just kind of bebop around. Very cute. So, we don't know how long they live. Again, this is one of the many mysteries. We don't know how long they live. I don't think we've ever seen them give birth before, although we know that they are, I'm going to butcher this, ovoviviparous, where they have the eggs inside them and they give birth to live young, which I think is unusual as well. But we've never seen them give birth. We don't usually see the little guys. And I think maybe scientists have only seen them try to mate a couple of times. So they're very, very mysterious. Part of that is there just isn't very many of them anymore. Their populations have been pretty decimated and they are now endangered. But the current estimate for how long they can live really, depending on the source, goes anywhere from 60 years to 150. Although I think the upper limit is more reasonably like 100 years. Let's go ahead and just grab a little miniature bamboo brush here. We can just brush the hair. Just brushing down. I start more at the bottom so we don't pull anything. And whale sharks. Whale sharks are one of the oldest extant or still existing types of shark. So we have fossils of whale shark teeth, I believe, that come from the late Oligocene, which is about 23 to 27 million years ago. Very, very old. They're very highly migratory. They're only found in tropical waters, but tropical waters make up a good portion of the globe. So there are certain places they congregate. We're not really sure why. They might be like feeding grounds or breeding grounds or birthing grounds. But I believe there's two main populations. One that's more in the Indian Ocean and one that's more in the Atlantic Ocean. And since whale sharks get so big, they really aren't found in aquariums. I think there might be two possibly that have been able to have them. But they're not your typical aquarium fare because of their size. Like trying to put a whale in there. They're just beautiful. Seem to be very sweet creatures. They actually, since since they tend to be so docile, people didn't realize that when they were filter feeders that they ate any fish whatsoever. They thought they were basically vegetarians. But no, they eat little guys. Just focusing on the scalp here. The back. Bring some blood circulation to the scalp. Which can only be good for it. Just bringing that down. Other side. Good. So let's do a bit of acupressure around the eyes. So I'm just going to be pressing here and releasing. This is very gentle, but it's excellent for releasing tension in the eyes. It's good for tired eyes, straining in the eyes. Good. Pressing and releasing. Just slow but rhythmic. Is the pressure okay? Press my thumb right here, right in here. Good, and just coming up the forehead. All the way up right here. Good. Just on both sides of the forehead. Working my way out to the temples. And just using 2 fingers here to just press into the temples. This is kind of a delicate area, so I'm just going to be very careful about that. Go. Okay. Let's press my finger here, the center of the forehead. All the way up here. Good. Just working outwards. To the temples. Okay. Using these fingers for the temples, just pressing in, just being very gentle. We're going to go down the nose, so right here at the glabella, and then down. Good. Okay, and the sides of the nose. Onto the maxilla. Coming out to the cheeks. Sides of the nose. Maxilla. Cheeks. Good. Alright, let's do right underneath the lip here. And the chin. The lip and the chin. Right under the nose and working across. Good, and the sides of the chin, along the jaw. Good. Sounds like we've got just a little bit of rain starting. Little sprinkle. depend on. Oh, no, maybe it's just that little bit. Just going down the midline here. And the side of the face. Like a clock. I guess that little 15 seconds of showers was all we were gonna get. The eyebrows. Okay, and then one last bit right, the inner corners of the eyes. This is really nice for ice pick headaches, which are not very fun. And there we are. I'd like to thank you so much for allowing me to administer this deep sleep treatment. I hope you have a whale shark of a day and a good rest of your night. Thank you.